Do you know where you are? Will the things I told you change the way you think about people? Do you know where you are?
Everybody out there that's listening, first of all, thank you for being with me tonight. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. What's up, O'Shea Duke Jackson? I see my man Art, Real Aaron Collins in the house. I've got my man, the elder, the number one brother, number one soul brother out of New Orleans, the elder himself. Elder Rashad has come to join us tonight in this discussion. I appreciate it, brother. I got to give you a clap for respect to you. Peace, blessings, and love, as the elder always says. Everybody in the chat room, Thank you. I'm going to be giving a presentation tonight related to, now let's see, we got Brother Duvian out there. We've got Brother Khaled, Wonderman, Sunny Seas, folks coming in a little at a time. I know that Nyla says got a pretty good stream going on her channel right now, but I had to do this tonight to present this presentation to you. And I'm just loaded up my speaker.com. So we're going speaker.com live as well, or I'm going to podcast it and then bust it over to speaker.com. So folks over there will hear me somewhere later on down the line. But let me get into this presentation right now. As you see on the description, why you should not celebrate Halloween. Now we know this is Halloween, and I'm going to get into a little bit of the history, or give you a taste of some of this history as it relates to Halloween and why we should actually always be aware of everything that we're celebrating. I know we usually get caught up in the fact that Halloween is a day that kids dress up, we go to parties, we go out and say trick or treat. You know, I remember back in my day, you would say trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If everybody can hear me, put a 1 in the chat room and let us know where you are in the country. If you're from California, you're from the East Coast, South, just put it in the chat room if you don't mind. Let's get this whole thing bumping as I move on with the presentation. Folks are coming in little by little. I know it's the middle of the week, and I want to really thank you. I sent my man Lions Den a link. So maybe he'll come in, maybe he won't. I might do a panel discussion after this. Thank you, everybody. I can see people are putting in one. We're from Texas. We got Georgia. We got a lot of folks coming in the house, and I'm really happy to see everybody here tonight. So we're going to possibly have a panel tonight. I might bring a few folks in. I may. It just depends on how things go tonight with this. I just didn't want to make this a super long stream. But I did want to make it a stream that people can definitely get some understanding from, get some knowledge from, and do me a favor, everybody out there in the chat room. If you don't mind, this is how we push these and promote these channels. Put this in your own social media, and if you got folks that you know, send them a link so that they know what's going on tonight as it relates to this particular stream, as I'm sending it off to different folks right now myself. And I'm just glad that everybody's here so far. Let me put it out. I'm going to put it out in twitter.com right now. I mean, Twitter, that is. Popping it into Twitter. I'm putting it into that's why I'm taking a little bit of time here. Putting it into my various social media. Let's see, my Facebook. Everybody in the chat room, if you can put in the chat room description, how was your day? Did you have a good day, a bad day? How has things been going for everybody out there? There's a hell of a lot of things going on right now in the world. Let's see, let me put this description in here. Excuse me, folks. I know you're hearing all that little sound, but I got to send this somewhere here. Boom. So that's being sent off at the proper place. So everybody, just that you have a good day, bad day, what have you. You can see the thumbnail up there. It has my man. This is the Blackula movie. Okay, Blackula is a very famous movie. As you can see, Bloodsucker, deadlier than Dracula. And if you know the history behind Dracula or Blackula, Blackula was actually turned by Dracula himself. He's a prince. He was a black prince from Africa, from one of the countries in Africa, and he was turned by Dracula himself. Okay, Vlad the Impaler, as they called him. Okay, now when you look at those of you who are familiar with the character that Wesley Snipes played, what was that? What was the guy that walked in? Blade. Blade is supposed to be the birth child of Dracula because Dracula bit his mother, and then something happened in the DNA that allowed him to be a daywalker. I actually had the comic book when I was a kid, the Dracula comic book that introduced the Blade character. Comic book is worth a grip of money. I wish I had that comic book now. I did damage to it as a child, not understanding the value of these comic books. They go up, they have some value to them, believe it or not. So let me start the beginning of this presentation. Everybody in the chat room, how many of you actually celebrate Halloween? If you do currently now, put a 1 in the chat room if you do. If you don't, put a 0 in there if you don't celebrate it. But I'm about to play something for you that you definitely need to listen to. And then after we go out of this audio, I'll be going into another part of my presentation about this whole issue around Halloween. So this should be an eye-opener. And listen up. I hope everybody's having a good evening, good night, wherever you are, good early morning. And here we go.
Every year, on the 31st of October, people from many countries around the world will discard their normal everyday appearance and for Halloween will enthusiastically adorn costumes that have a sinister, if not demonic look. It is a celebration that allows the bizarre and devilish dark side to enter everyday life. Some historians believe the origin of this festival had something to do with the belief that around this time of the year, the door to the other world or afterlife opened enough for the souls of the dead and other such beings such as fairies to come into our world. Feasts were laid out, and the souls of dead ancestors were beckoned to attend by setting a place for them at the table. However, along with departed ancestors, it was believed that evil spirits too entered into our world. In order to disguise themselves from these evil spirits, people would dress up in costumes that resembled demonic entities so as to ward off any attack. Nowadays, Halloween has become a worldwide calendar event, and in terms of its retail potential, it is second only to Christmas. Some studies say that it is an $8 billion industry that includes scary food, merchandise, costumes, and events. In recent years, the zombie walk has also become increasingly popular as part of the Halloween festivities. Adults and children dress up as creatures from the afterlife, such as ghosts, zombies, and witches. Houses are decorated by carving pumpkins into scary faces and putting up other morbid decorations such as skeletons and monstrous creatures. Children go for trick-or-treat collection, which means passing from door to door, asking for sweets or goodies, and threatening to play tricks on those who refuse. It is a day where people of all ages have a public license to act devilish, and for most, there is little association with the festival's original spiritual implication. But beyond the seeming fun and frolic, what does Halloween actually do for us at a spiritual level?
So I want to stop it there. That's a good question. I want to drop in the chat room to everybody. What does Halloween really do for us on a spiritual level? It does have its origins in pagan belief. You do have a collaboration between the Christian church and a collaboration with the pagans. And from what I understand, the Catholic religion has actually given a license to it. And there's a reason why they push forward this whole idea of dressing up, as you heard in the audio. People dressed up originally as a way to scare away evil spirits or ghouls or creatures that bump in the night. and these sort of things, thinking that they would scare them away if they incarnated war, took in their spirits, and wearing the costumes was a way to reflect that, to engage that. So let me give you some more history here. Ancient origins of Halloween. Okay. Ancient origins of Halloween dates back to the ancient Celtics. Festival of the Samhain, or pronounced Samhain. The Celtics who lived 2,000 years ago in the area that is now known as Ireland, the United Kingdom, north of France, celebrated the new year, November 1. So a celebration of a new year for them, November 1, which will be tomorrow, technically, for this particular, and this is in Europe. The day of Halloween, let's just put it this way. The day of Halloween marks the end of the summer harvest, and the beginning of a dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. I repeat, human death. Celtics believe, this is European stuff, folks. Celtics believe that on the night before the new year, boundary between the world of the living and the dead becomes coming. The night of October 31st, they celebrate, as I said before, Samhain or Samhain. The dead becomes when it was believed that the ghost of the dead would return. I know in Mexican culture, they have the Day of the Dead, where they will walk around in skeleton type clothing, skeleton type painted faces to celebrate the Day of the Dead. Every culture has some form of this or another. So let me move on here. In addition to causing trouble and damage crops, the Celtics thought that the presence, let me move up here. All right. So they thought that the presence of damaged crops would be like evil spirits. Okay. Now, how many of you out there have heard of these things in the chat room? How many of you write some things in the chat room? How many of you have heard of these types of stories? And I think I need to bring one of my volumes down. Okay. So as let's see, I'm having a little difficulty here. I know what I'm going to do. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm going to stop that part. There we go. Now I can go into the other area I need to go into. All right, folks. Here we go. Let me go back into this other area that I wanted to go into. So as I was saying, in addition to causing trouble, damage crops, the Celtics thought that the presence of the other world spirits made it easy for the persistence to make a prediction about their future. So the crops would be sort of like a prediction of the future. If they had good crops, it was going to be a good season coming. If you had bad crops, it was something bad happening. You know how you have, what's that celebration that they do where they look at, what is that? When you see what's the animal where they look at if it's going to be a cold winter or is it going to be a not so bad winter when they bring out the shadow of the, what is that, folks? Somebody name that in the chat room. What is the thing that they do every year? Where they check the what is that? The porky what is that name? What is the name of that? Thank you for all. Let me see. What is that? Where are the elders delay? Let me see. We got people coming in. We got Junk Pile video. We got Groundhog Day. Thank you, the groundhog. So you have the groundhog where they check to see if there's a shadow. Now, a lot of these celebrations, thank you for reminding me, a lot of these celebrations that we have a lot of linkage to these European traditions around what we call as Halloween today, okay? Now, as I was saying, so they look at whether it's going to be a prop, is it going to be good omens or bad omens to the way their crops are going to be produced, if they're going to be good crops or bad crops again. For people entirely dependent on the volatility of nature, the world, these prophecies were an important source confronted and directed during the long, dark winter. So they believed in this. These Europeans believed in this stuff, okay? They built a huge secret bonfire where people would gather to burn crops and animals. Listen to this. They would burn crops and animals as a sacrifice to the Celtic deities during the celebration. This is where this Halloween has its origins, okay? Part of its origins, okay? During the celebrations, the Celtics would write custom, typically consisting of animal heads, skins, and attempted to tell each other fortunes. This is stuff they were doing in Europe. When the celebration was over, they would relight their hellfire, which they had extinguished earlier. So they would light another fire in the evening from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. Again, I'm going to say it, during the coming winter. We're getting ready to go into a winter schedule as we're about to turn our clocks back. What's going on? Food, clothing, music, and shelter. Good to have you here with us, brother. As always, as always. Now, let me get back. So they did a lot of weird sacrificing behavior. Now, let me go on. By 43 AD, in the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of the Celtic territories. In the course of 400 years, they ruled the Celtic land. Two festivals of the Roman origins were combined. So they combined. Like I said, you know, throughout history, Europeans would conquer each other and combine these customs. And you also had, like I said, the combination of the combination of the pagans collaborating with the quote unquote Christians. Okay, giving concessions. We'll give you a little. We'll give you this if you give us that. Push and pull. Now, when I talked about the bonfire earlier, isn't that something that you see them doing in college when people celebrate for like football games? When you were in college, people would have these Where do you think this stuff comes from? This stuff comes out of pagan celebrations. This stuff comes out of this Celtic tradition, this European tradition that comes out of Halloween, or that gave rise to Halloween, okay? Or the all day souls, or the Saints Day, All Saints Day. All these things, and All Saints Day is another collaboration of this Halloween pagan celebration, which the Catholic Church came up with this All Saints Day. Okay. Now, so as the Romans did their conquering, as I said before, The Celtics, they took over the Celtics territory. Okay. Now, late October is when the Roman tradition commemorated or celebrated, let me say, the passing of the dead. So there's no coincidence why we're celebrating Hallows or All Saints Day or the Day of the Dead on the 31st. There's all these collaborations. Now, those of you in the chat room right now, listen to what I'm saying to you. I'm saying to you this, and I get this information, I get this inspiration from brother Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who said in one of his speeches, you don't know what time it is. You don't know what year you're in. You don't even really know how old you are because they have manipulated the calendar. These pagans and these particular religions that we have been beholding to, because as my man Clothing, Food, Music, and Shelter would say, a lot of times as Black people, as people, when we get on these streams, we often talk about how we feel, but we never get to the logic of how did we learn these things that we feel? How did we believe in things like the fairy godmother? When we lose our tooth, we're going to get some kind of money under our pillow, which our parents give us. Why do we believe that a red white man's going to come down our chimney and give us toys? Why do we teach our kids these lies? Why do we have kids wearing costumes that depict demonic images, demonic energies that vibrate on low frequencies, not high God-given frequencies, bringing in these demonic spirits or energies into our households, into our children, into ourselves, going out into the world, knocking on strangers' doors, asking for candy, or candy being given, and you don't even know if that stranger has laced that candy into drugs. I know in my day when I was a younger kid, there were stories about how people would put razor blades. You heard these stories. I said that. Razor blades, razor blades, razor blades. Damn it. Razor blades, razor blades. Put razor blades in apples, and kids would bite into the apples and get this razor blade cut in their mouths. This stuff was happening. So why would you do that? Have your kids knocking on doors, participate. And we tell our children, we tell our families, this is okay because we're only doing it once a year. Once a year, we're going to pretend that we're ghouls of the night. Okay, this comes out of this Eurocentric ideology that we as Black folks have also allowed ourselves to be inundated by, to adapt this behavior, a behavior that is not a part of our culture, a behavior that is not truly us. Now, I know people like to have fun, dress in costumes, go to costume parties. I know we all have done it once in a time, but I'm trying to get you to think, why are you doing these things? Is it because how you feel, what you believe? Where did you get this from? How were you culturally conditioned by this? Okay, this goes all the way back. Now, like I said, you don't know how old you are. You don't really know because they've manipulated calendars. They've changed dates. They've taken time from February is the shortest month. By the way, happens to be Black History Month. So they took whatever, they took the 31 days or 30 days out of February, moved it over somewhere else. You got these evil kings who wanted favoritism, and you would have these evil rulers that wanted people to celebrate them for months, which is why the calendar is so manipulated. And a lot of us don't realize this, which is why you don't really know how old you are, because Europeans have been trying to manipulate time for time immemorial, trying to play around with it. We're about to turn our clocks back this Sunday. That's another manipulation of time. So let me move on here. So in October, when the Roman traditionally would celebrate this passing of the dead, the second was the day to honor. The second day. We got the first day coming tomorrow after Halloween, All Saints Day. Now you've got the second day, and according to the data that I have here, the second was the day to honor the goddesses, the fruit, and the trees. Okay, so you know, in Roman culture, just like in Greek culture, they believed in idol worship. They believe in worshiping idols and statues and things of that nature. And those of you who are Christians or believe in Christian faith, if you know your Bible well, it says you're not supposed to come through God through items and symbolisms, right? But throughout our history, we have nothing but symbolism in this country that we've been pronounced under. So you just have to keep that in mind. These things permeate on our minds. It is we do things sometimes without even thinking about it when it comes to these traditions that we keep practicing. Okay, so the symbolism, and Black folks, we know in America we love symbolism. The symbolism of the plum is the apple, and the incorporation of the celebration into the Saw-in or the Samhain probably explains the traditional for the apple that is practiced today. Now, when you were a kid, they say, let's bob for apples. I'm reading here, I'm breaking it down to you. It comes out of this pagan tradition where the Romans and the Europeans would worship the trees and the fruits and the trees and the fruits. And that's where the bobbing of the apple when you were a child, and they would have you blind. Where does this shit come from? Have you blindfold yourself. You're blindfolding yourself and you putting your head into the water and you're trying to bite for the apple as you cannot see. And as a child, it seemed fun, but you never ask yourself as an adult, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Why are you celebrating it? I say, why? Why? Where does it come from? And why are you celebrating it? I'm going to say that again. I must say that again. I must. Why, Black people? You are taking on the celebrations of your oppressors. You're taking on the celebrations of something evil, demonic, a energy that works on low frequencies, not high frequency, Black people. Let me move on. So that is explaining the bobbing for apples that we practice today. That's where it comes from. Now, you heard me mention the term All Saints Day. On May 13, 609 AD, 609 AD, the Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christians, and the Catholic feast of all day was celebrated in the Western Church Pope. Okay, now the festival includes the All Saints as well as the Marathon moves of observation from May 13 to November. So from May 13, they observe, they celebrate, they push it forward. So like I said, these religious organizations that a lot of us have been conditioned by to believe, we operate in a lot of our beliefs. They were collaborating. The Catholics were collaborating with the traditional Christians at the time. They all were collaborating to fit this. Now, we know that religion overall is nothing but a form of social control, to control your mind, to control your body. They tell you what to do with your body. They tell you how to think, how to believe, how to feel. You can't make any move without giving all your attention to the church. The All Saints Day was celebrated similar to Samhain's with big bonfires. Once again, there you go. The All Saints Day, which was created and implemented by the Catholic Church, once again, making their celebrations in symbolisms of fire, bonfires, parades, dressing up in costumes, as I mentioned before, as saint angels and devils. Once again, dressing up in costumes as saint angels and devils. The All Saints Day celebrations was also called the All Hallows, which is just short for Halloween, what you're celebrating today, Black people. What you're celebrating today. Listen to me. My Black folks, I love you, but we got to understand what we're celebrating. I'm going to get on Christmas too next month. I'm going to get on all over Christmas. Ho, 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 and all that kind of stuff. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying, folks. I hope you're getting where I'm coming from with the presentation. We got Cap in the chat room. We got Hood Mistress out there. We got folks coming in. I really appreciate you being here. I know it's late for some of you. So when you look at this whole thing about Halloween and where it comes from, and like I said before, by the 9th century, let me just give you this. By the 9th century, the influence of the Christianity had spread into Celtic land, where they gradually blended with the other Celtic rituals. And 1000 AD, the church would make November the 2nd All Saints Day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic festival of the dead with related church sanctioned holidays. Related church-sanctioned holidays. The All Saints Day was celebrated similar, like I said, to Samhain, the big bonfire parades, and it was called from the Catholic Church and the other Europeans that collaborated this. It was called, as I said again, the All Hallows or the All Hallows Mass. The All Hallows Mass from the Middle English, meaning All Saints Day. And the night before it is traditionally the night of Samhain. The Celtic region began to be called All Hallows Eve. You heard that. All Hallows Eve. And eventually, as we know today, to wrap this part up, Halloween, my Black folks. That's what I'm talking about. Now let me move forward. Halloween, as it is custom in America, is celebrated with extreme limits in colonial New England. So this is when it came to America, the colonial. Now, you know, there were 13 colonies representing 13 little settlements later to become states. And you got masonry, you got the Illuminati, which only means meaning to illuminate, of the enlightened one. And we know that Illuminati comes out of a tradition of the religion combined with science. But you had evil individuals like these pagans who infiltrated the Illuminati and turned it into something, as we know today, as something evil. And the record, you had these evil individuals, these pagans, who infiltrated satanic type worship, satanic type thought into different lodges of the Masonic order across Europe, spreading and infiltrating Masonic lodges, which is why we have these issues today. It spread itself to America, even in our dollar. If you have a dollar bill, folks, look at your dollar bill, turn it around. You have the Bohemian Grove leaf on the dollar bill, which the Bohemian Grove is a place in Northern California, across from San Francisco, where you have very wealthy, well-to-do white men of leadership men of leadership, like you have with the Bilderberger group, who meet in secret, or they meet every couple of years, and they do these satanic rituals. That comes out of this stuff that I'm talking about tonight. They do these rituals. They have this huge owl symbol that they do this around. They do reenactments. And that owl symbol is in your dollar bill. And the Bohemian Grove is in your dollar bill. And when you look at the pyramid, the all-seeing eye and the pyramid symbol on your dollar, it's a circular formation with the pyramid in the eye. In that pyramid, if you look at it, the Masonic order is written in that part of the dollar bill. All you have to do is look at it. If you know how to spell Masonic, look for all the letters in the Masonic lettering, and you will find it in the lettering that goes around that pyramid, seeing eye. It is the Masonic order symbol, a symbol of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, which you know, if you know your history, was stolen, misused, and misrepresented by Europeans, stolen from Kemet, the Egyptian, our black people, the Nubians, who brought rise to pyramids, who brought higher thought, higher vibrations, because Europeans operate on lower vibrations, which is why they steal, they pillage. Read Stolen Legacies, the book Stolen Legacies, how the Greeks and the Europeans broke into some of the libraries and the historical sites in Egypt, or what we call Kemet, and stole and pillaged and redefined. Now, Greek letters actually come out of African or Egyptian lettering. It was stolen and rechanged and distorted. Okay. Moving on with the presentation. Everybody, can you hear me? Let me know if you can. Are you appreciating and getting where I'm coming from with this stream? It won't be too much longer. Let me move on now. As I said, Halloween was extremely limited to colonies in New England because of the rigid Presbyterian belief system. See, here go another religion. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and in the southern colonies, as many believed in custom in different European ethnic groups, as well as the American Indians. Distinction of American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebration included play parties, public events held to celebrate the harvest, where neighbors would share stories of the dead, telling each other futures. Very interesting stuff. Deaf and sing, dancing and singing. Colonies, colonial Halloween festivals also featured the telling of ghost stories, mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivals were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. This is in America. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish, filtered the Irish potato famine, which brought Irish to America, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween. As I said earlier, this Halloween celebration comes out of the Celtic culture of Ireland. They brought this over here. It was not celebrated in many of the colonies, mainly the southern parts of the colonies. They celebrated this, and it began to take off as more people integrated, bringing this stuff over from Europe, infiltrating it into the culture here, as they also pillaged and killed native people. Trick or treat. As I said, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. The borrowing from Irish and England tradition is where trick or treat comes from. America began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money. So originally they weren't asking for candy. It was originally people would knock on doors and they would ask for food and money. A practice that eventually became today's trick or treat tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name, appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yams and apples and pairing with mirrors. So women believed, these Europeans believed, that they could determine who their husband was going to be by engaging in this type of ritual, deviant type of behavior, naming, appearance, using mirrors. Fruits, once again, something about fruits, something about trees that they want to engage in celebrating in these things. And here we are bobbing for apples, and you wonder, where did this shit come from? In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighbors getting together than about ghosts and planks and witchcraft. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festival customs. People were encouraged by newspapers and communities leaders to take anything fighting ghostly Halloween celebrations, because these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitions and religion overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. So Halloween had a superstitious flavor to it when you had religious overtones in it, but eventually the superstition was relieved of it by the church, the superstition overtones, as the 20th century came into reality. Halloween parties. I'm sure some of you going to Halloween parties. By 1950, by 1920 and 1930, Halloween had become a community-centered holiday with parades, tons of wide Halloween parties, as featured entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vanishing began to plague some celebrations in many communities during the time. So there were some people that were trying to reject the celebration of Halloween. By the 1950s, town leaders had successfully limited the vanishing of Halloween and evolved it into a holiday directed mainly at the young. Due to high numbers of young children during the 50s, baby boomers, party moved from the town's civil centers into the classrooms. Remember when you were in school, they had you walk these damn parades in school, and you would go and get those costumes that you would buy at some of these 5 and dime stores, 9 and dime stores, 5 and dime stores, into classroom homes where they could be more easily accommodated. Between 1920 and 1950, centered old practices of trick-or-treat or treating was also received. Trick-or-treat was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebration. In theory, families could also prevent trick being played on them by providing neighborhood children with small treats. This is where this shit comes from. Thus, a new American tradition was born, and it has continued to grow today. America spends an estimated $6 billion annual on Halloween, making it's the most country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. And I had that in the earlier audio that I played for you, reinforcing that. Soul cakes. I'm going to say it again. Soul cakes. The American Halloween tradition of trick-or-treating probably dates back to the early All Saints' Day parade in England. During the festival, poor citizens would beg for food, and families would give them pastries called soul cakes in between for their promise to pray for the family dead relatives. Distinguishing a soul cake was encouraged by churches as a way to replace the ancient practice. See, the churches were collaborating with this pagan stuff to replace the ancient practice, leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. So eventually, or prior to all of this, the churches would have a practice in which they were offering food and wine to spirits. Okay? Eventually taking up the children who would visit the houses in their neighborhoods and be given food and money. This is where it all comes from. The tradition of dressing up in costumes for Halloween has both European and Celtic roots. Getting back to Celtic roots, Ireland roots, European roots. Samhain's Day. The tradition of dressing up in costume Halloween has both European and Celtic roots. Hundreds of years ago, winter was an uncertain, frightening time. Food supplies often ran low, and for many people afraid of the dark. Afraid of the dark. Many people afraid of the dark. Many people afraid of the dark. Okay? The tradition of dressing up. All this stuff is traditional. We're celebrating this stuff today, and we don't know a lot of times where this stuff is coming from. Now, people are afraid of the dark. The short days of winter were full of constant worries for Europeans at this time. On Halloween, when it was believed that ghosts came back to the earth, when people thought that they would encounter ghosts, they left their homes. So they would leave their homes when they thought that they would encounter a ghost. To avoid being recognized by these ghosts, people would wear masks when they left their homes after dark so that the ghosts would mistake them for fellow spirits, so that the ghosts would not mess with them. So this is where the tradition, as I said earlier, tradition of people dressing up comes from. It has, okay, this is where this is coming from, and we got our kids doing this today with no understanding of what we got our kids celebrating. On Halloween, to keep ghosts away from the house, people would place bowls of food outside their homes to appeal to ghosts, to prevent them from attempting to enter. Interesting. Let me go into this. Let me go into this.
Do you know where you are?
Do you know where you are? Okay, let me get back to the presentation now. This is very important. A lot of you heard of the black cat, and they tell you, oh, if a black cat crosses your path, that's bad luck. This is bullshit. Don't believe that, folks. If you step on a crack, you're going to get years of bad luck. If you break a mirror, you're going to get all this stuff comes out of this European tradition of fear. And we are engulfing this low frequency energy into our high frequency melanated energy, Black people. We're celebrating things that have nothing to do with us. We're celebrating things that have everything to do with European customs and culture, which comes out of paganism, demonic type stuff. Now, the Black Cat has always been a holiday filter with mystery, magic, superstition, as I said. It began as once again, a Celtic European culture, Celtic end of the summer. The beginning of the Celtic end of the summer festival, during which people felt especially close to deceased relatives. I repeat, deceased relatives and friends. For these friends spirits, they set place at the dinner table. They set a place at the dinner table left for treats on the doorsteps, along the side of the road, candles to help loved ones find their way back to the spirit world. This is where they come from. Now, don't get me wrong. I know in some African traditions and some cultures within the Black community or the Black diaspora, there are people who do have beliefs about the spirit world and all that. I totally get that. But I'm simply saying, when we're gauging in Halloween, we're celebrating someone else's ways and folklores, not our own, Black people. We've got to get more into our own folklores, not theirs. Today's Halloween ghosts are often depicted as more fearsome and scary, and our customs to superstitions are scarier too. We avoid crossing paths with Black cats, as I said before. We afraid that they might bring us bad luck. See, I said that before. This idea has roots in the Middle Ages. Now, let me just say this. In the Middle Ages, or what I call the Dark Ages, they always tell you this history about how Europe was in the Dark Ages, and they came from a Dark Ages into an Enlightened Age, a Renaissance Age. Now, if you know your history, that the Moors from North Africa controlled most of Europe for years. They controlled what we call Ireland, where you have the Celtic culture that I was talking about. They controlled all of that. Once you had the Christian Crusades, which were brutal, to push Islam or the Moors out of Europe, the Moors left the Europeans with technology, literature, ways to navigate, all sorts of technology, which is what brought rise to the Renaissance in Europe. A lot of times in the history books in school, they never tell you who gave them the technology to have the Renaissance. It was the Black man. It was Black people. We have ruled this earth longer than Europeans have. Okay? This is a fact. Look it up. We operate on high vibrations, not low frequencies. We have been around for, I would say we've been around longer than we think, billions of years, because every time you turn around, they keep finding out that the earth or different civilizations are older than they once thought it was. And Black people, we were here. Don't let anyone tell you anything different than that. We have been here. We are we are ascendants of ancient people. Lower God, higher gods, whatever. We are ancient people. Now, as I said, today's Halloween goes depiction of the Middle Ages, when many people believe that witches avoid detection by turning themselves into Black cats. So that's where it comes from, folks. The depiction that Black cats are simply witches that have turned themselves into cats. And you always see the tradition of witches with brooms and Black cats. This is where it comes from. When we try not to walk under ladders for the same reason, superstition. See, this is the thing that holds us back, Black people, fear. When you allow fear, which comes out of this type of tradition, what comes out of this American culture, we are being taught and conditioned culturally to fear. And fear is the biggest obstacle to us as a people taking our rightful place in the world and the society, and also doing the things that we need to do to build our communities. Fear holds us back. Fear stands in our way, completely holds us back. Superstition may have come from the ancient Egyptians. So every culture has issues about tradition, about superstitions. Every culture has it. So as you see here, the ancient Egyptians who believed that that they had sacrifice, right? Triangulars were sacrificed. It also may have something to do with the fact that walking under a learning ladder or leaning ladder trends to be fairly unsafe. And around Halloween, especially, we try to avoid breaking mirrors. Remember I talked about mirrors? Stepping on cracks in the road. You know, you heard those stories. If you step on a crack, you break your mama's back. All this stuff comes out of European superstition. Superstitions that have been around for years and years and years. False, that's right, Aaron. False fear, fake fear. Let me get into this other part here. Halloween matchmaking, but when about a Halloween tradition, beliefs that today trick or treat have forgotten about many of these rituals focused on the future instead of the past and living instead of the dead. In particular, many have to do with helping young women identify their future husbands. Remember I said that the women would use things like mirrors. They would take fruits and do various weird rituals, deviant rituals, to determine who their future husbands would be. And it says here, so Halloween was also used as a matchmaking tool. In particular, many have to do with helping young women identify their future husbands, reasoning them that they would someday, with luck, by next Halloween, be married. In the 18th century, Ireland and the matchmaking cook might bury rings in the mashed potatoes. Bury rings in the mashed potatoes. Let me see. Hood Mistress says, you got it right. Accidentally mentioning Hollywood. They're heavy on this Halloween shit. Every year, especially West Hollywood. Yeah, and they got the whole Michael Myers thing, right? Everything, look at your movies. What are the movies depicting? The deviant kind of things. Evil stuff. And when you're watching this stuff, you're bringing this stuff in your house. You're bringing in the wrong vibrations, folks. Got to get away from this stuff. So this is where this kind of stuff comes from. Let me go back into. So let me unloose it. So this is where this stuff comes from, folks. This sort of deviant, this weird stuff that you see. This is where it's coming from. You got to watch what you're celebrating. You got to know the history of why you're celebrating it. What does it mean? What are the symbols? Because you got your kids involved in this. You got yourself involved in this. So I did this stream tonight just to kind of educate people a little bit. I know everybody has their views on these holidays, but you got to really look at what you're getting yourself involved in here. So let me see. Who do we have in the chat room? We've got my man Art in the chat room. Let me see. Got my man Food, Clothing, and Shelter. You know what I'll do? I'll have a little Q&A if anybody wants to come on and talk about some of this stuff. I'm going to drop a link in the chat room. You can come on in, and we're going to have a short Q&A before I end this tonight. So let me go into here and drop the link in there. There you go. So we'll have a short Q&A. If anybody wants to add to the presentation tonight, you may know some things that I don't know. Come on in, drop your dimes. And don't get me wrong, I know that people like to go to costume parties. People like to have a good time and have fun. I understand that, you know, but it's important to know what you're celebrating. It's important to know what you're engaging in. So I put a link in the chat room. If you want to have a few words, go right ahead before I end this tonight. I didn't want to make it a 4 or 5 hour stream. I just wanted to get straight to the point. But if anybody wants to come on in, render their thoughts about this thing we call Halloween, you're more than welcome to come on in. Let me see who I may have on the panel, if I have anybody. So we got my man Art, who's just coming on in. So I put a second link in the chat room. If you want to talk about this a little bit before I end, come on in for a little Q&A. Come on in. Let me see. Come on in if you want to come on in. Hit the link. All right. Well, Art, I see you're in the I see you on the panel so far. What's going on, brother?
Oh, nothing much, brother. Coming through support.
I want to know, did you get the email or anything from Brother Kevin Samuels? Because on Monday is when we're doing the Frat Brothers show.
Yeah, I replied to him, but he didn't respond back to me. So, because
Okay.
I didn't get time.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to contact him, but I want you to be around Monday evening because I want you on that panel.
Yeah, he's supposed to respond to me because I don't know what time he wants to do it. So I was trying to get an idea.
I think he wants to do it like 9 o'clock. I think he's Central Time.
So 9 Central. So it's like maybe 7 our time.
Yeah. I think he wants to do it at that time. So that's what it's looking like. What's up, Marlo's Corner? What's up? So, Art, give me your opinion. What are your thoughts? You heard my presentation. What are your thoughts about Halloween? What thoughts you want to put on the table?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing of indoctrination, especially, when you throw the movies in. I just gave a very powerful lecture tonight at my job.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about, symbology in the arts. And a part that I think that we overlook is that when certain images and symbols are repeated in our eyes over and over, you have the three steps, which is invoking, channeling, and embodying. So, and this is probably the perfect day for them to do that thing, because you're embodying something because you're wearing a costume. So it's almost like we lie to ourselves almost every day when we look at this media, television, and whatever. But you take it up a notch when you're wearing a costume, and everybody else is doing it at the same time. So it's just something. There's some things that that we need to just start really focusing on, and especially when you mentioned. I think one of the last things you mentioned is that you get your kids involved.
Yeah.
I think that's very powerful and something that because I think that's damn near damaging just as much as the Santa Claus story.
And see, what I was mentioning too, my brother, is that we have to understand the vibrations, the energy vibrations that we're giving off. And we've got our kids out here engaging in this type of stuff. And we got to understand what we're bringing to ourselves when we do this kind of stuff, what kind of energy we're bringing. It's not a healthy energy, I would say. What are your thoughts?
Falsities. You're lying to yourself, and then you're getting your children involved to lie to themselves too. And I get the whole thing about we get to have fun and wear costumes and be what we want to be and stuff like that. But you can do that any day.
Exactly.
You can have a costume party sometime. You can have that during birthdays and things like that. But you're doing it within the whole marketing scheme. And also you're doing it to the point to where you are engaging in things to where there's candy. You're going through different neighborhoods where you don't even know who's putting stuff in the bag. And you already mentioned about the ritualistic properties that's going through this, to where people don't even know what they're getting engaged with. So, man, I wish we could just, start really paying attention to more of the things that really matter to our survival instead of doing leisure things.
I'm with you right there with those statements that you just said. I think we don't do enough for our survival as a people. I think one of the reasons, and give me your opinion, Art, I think one of the reasons why we like to celebrate this, especially Black people, is because we have a lot of pain in our background. We have things that we're not happy about. And when we're able to celebrate stuff, it gives us escape for a short period of time. It gives us the ability to say, hey, I can escape from my pain. I can escape from my problems. Just like a person who uses drugs will use drugs to escape from the problems of their life. What are your thoughts?
It's definitely a form of escapism. I mean, if you can always deny something, I mean, if you can always deny who you are, especially if you don't like who you are, then you'll just probably pick the best opportunities to do that. So, how people do cosmetic changes to their bodies, their hair. I mean, they even say that there's a saying that says that the thicker you put on your makeup, it's like putting a mask and hiding something that you don't want anybody to see. And sometimes that can be psychological as well as physical. So until you can come to the terms, if you can just be honest about why you're doing what you're doing, then I think there could be some healing as well. Because I definitely think, like you're saying, I think they're really trying to escape something because of the pain and the hurt. But we're trying to make it look like it's fun. But it's not really fun once you peel the layers. So.
And what are your thoughts about the fact that I didn't know this until I did the research? I didn't realize that Halloween next to Christmas is the highest grossing holiday in terms of just pure economics. And I guess it would make sense because everybody's going out buying costumes, makeup, wigs. People are coming up with elaborate custom-made costumes based on movies, television, and then Hollywood gets in on this with the movies that they make to get us really caught up in this demonic type stuff. And then you have not to mention the parties that people put on, the elaborate parties. And I don't know if they do. I know they do the exotic erotic ball in California, right? They got an exotic erotic ball in a lot of these different cities across the country, right?
Yeah, eyes wide shut. That kind of stuff. It's if we could really be honest about the ritualistic practices in this particular festivity, then I think things could be a lot clearer. I mean, but for some reason we're always being the volunteers to participate in the slaughter, not really understanding like you're going into the energy part. If I lie to you, brother, information man, it's almost like you're eating something very bad. Your body has to process the lie. It has to, because it's taking it in. And the thing is, once you figure out that you've been lied to, it's a big shock to the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost the same thing. Like if you're eating fast food, the body has to figure out where to put it. And most of the time it sits there and rot and ferment and really messes you up physically. So think about the psychological and the spiritual damages that you do when you participate in things like this.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to try to see if I can get Black in Japan on. I'm going to send him a link. I know he had, this is the hard part, Art. Let me just say this to you, brother. And someone put in there, Black cats are awesome. Okay. Yeah, black cats are awesome, but the reason why the black cats, once again, have a negative connotation in our community is because they associate the black cat, with witches, that witches would use cats. They would turn themselves into cats. And so the black cat has been sort of criminalized the way black people have been criminalized in American society. If you really think about it that way, you notice anything that's black is considered negative. Anything that's dark is bad, it's negative, it has a negative connotation, right? Good guys wear white, bad guys wear black. You see, I got all black on tonight, right? Cowboys, good cowboys wear white, bad cowboys.
Right.
I'm going to say to you right now, black is excellent because black is the universe, baby. So we got to really look at what we're doing. We're getting ready to go into these holidays, Brother Art. A lot of us are going to eat our turkey. We're going to eat our food. And we're going to say Thanksgiving. We're going to say Happy Thanksgiving. We're going to say, give blessing to the food that I'm about to give my body. And we don't really know the history of some of these holidays and where they have such a evil beginnings. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the black cat, and I know that kind of goes into the Panther movie, and it's funny because that goes into, I think it's Bast or Bastet. That's supposed to be an Egyptian cat.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, why would a witch benefit from that, knowing that this is our stuff? So I've found some information where all that stuff been taken from us. But again, it's damn near like taking the rainbow and making it into LGBT or whatever it is. But rainbow is supposed to be the part of the chakra system. But they'll take it and make it something else. And I mean, it's crazy, man. It's just a matter of just trying to decode. Put it this way, as long as you can decode what you're looking at, then it won't be too much a shock of the system. And plus you see things the way they really are rather than what you think it is.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Black in Japan is in.
Yeah, Brother Black in Japan. You see the title of the program tonight. I did a presentation and wanted to have this panel for a quick little while. But what are your thoughts? Now, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to preface this. I know that people have kids, and kids enjoy dressing up in costume and having kids fun. And I know, you being a family man, I have a daughter. I know that people are going to take their kids to Halloween parties. We're going to let our kids dress up in some, costumes. I understand that as a reality. But I also believe that you need to know what you're celebrating and what you're getting into, which is why I did this presentation tonight. With you having kids, brother, how do you make your peace with Halloween, being what its history is?
Well, because I look at things in a different spectrum, right? Because a lot of people support things or they'll celebrate things and not know the meaning of it. It's no different than celebrating Easter and Christmas or any other holiday, St. Patrick's Day, the history behind things. But I know the beginnings of Halloween and how when we got acquiesced to Halloween, how Halloween has changed. Like in Japan, they have Oban. It's the same as Halloween. They just have it at a different time of the year, right? So Halloween, it's reverence or Hallows Eve. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between Halloween and Hallows Eve. There's a complete difference, right? You know what I mean? Or the Mexicans call it the Day of the Dead, right? Like basically Oban on every other culture, even in Egyptian culture. If you notice that Hallows Eve, or AKA Halloween, is celebrated in October. You know what I'm saying? It starts in October because that's the end of the harvest season, right? Right. So what you do is with the last end, what happens? What you do with the harvest? right? What they would do with the end of the harvest, because when you harvest food or you harvest plants, you would dig up the roots, because you can't replant where roots have cemented themselves, right? So you have to dig up the roots. So what do you do with the roots? You take the roots and you burn them, right? So you use them as a sacrifice or an offering to your ancestors that lay into the ground, right? And that are sleeping and stuff like that, right? And it was a ceremonial thing, right? And it was also to say, oh, go ahead. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. Keep going on. You're making great.
Yeah. Okay. So what this is Hallows Eve was a day of reverence. It was also because people had these different concepts. There's the omni-God concept. There's the Trinity. There's the polygon concept, right? Then there's the multi-God concept, right? So what people don't understand or what they do is what their, you know what I'm saying, with their path to their spirituality. This is the day, you know, usually around this time, because it's not on a specific date. It moves according to the seasons, like the shortest, you know what I mean, where the fall, past the fall equinox. So this tells you that the days are going to be shorter, that the moon is going to come out. And when you wear these costumes, because they're saying this is the day that the people, the souls of the dead on a different plane are walking around on this different plane. This is what they believe, that the reason you wear these costumes and you go out at night is to protect yourself from these other entities and spirits that'll be out while you are celebrating the past life of your ancestors or your loved ones. You know, that connection is never gone, because even though their physical body is gone, their spiritual body is still walking around in a different plane.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where Hallows Eve come from.
Okay.
Halloween is a whole different ball.
Okay. Hey, brother Kelly Cash, I remember I interviewed you a while back, brother, and I really enjoyed that interview. I'm hearing some of the things you're saying. You say, let me see, Kelly Cash says the devil, he really justified Halloween. We emphasize on hell, you know, then by the brother Kelly Cash, if you can, because you're in the West Coast like myself, why don't you come on my panel and give us a few statements, brother? So hit the link that I put in the chat room and come on to the panel.
And if I can just reply to what he's saying, right? Like I said, I stated earlier, there's a difference between Hallows Eve and Halloween. I just talked about Hallows Eve. I said nothing about Halloween. He's right about Halloween, and that's the problem. Like you said, you see a rainbow, you think LGBT, right? You know what I mean? And I can tell that he goes by maybe in the Judeo faith or the doctrine of that, because I don't say Christianity, because Christianity is built off of mostly the Judeo faith. What does a rainbow mean to people that study the Old Testament or the Judeo principles? What does a rainbow mean? It's a promise between God and man that he won't destroy the earth with water anymore.
Yes, yes. Now, let me just say this. Sonia C says, now Halloween ain't sounding so bad. Sonia C, explain what you mean by that, sister. When you say it's not sounding so bad. Is it, let me ask, this is the question I should put on the table then. Is the idea of celebrating Halloween actually bad, or is it people that make it bad? Because like I said, it has all these weird traditions which were created by humans, all this superstition, which comes out of religion. And like I said before, at one point in time, the religious order of the world had control over some of this stuff, where they put the superstitions in there, right? To control people, because religion is used as social control. And these hollow days, we're saying about Halloween, hollow days. What does hollow days mean, brother? Can you break that down? Hollow. What does that mean?
Yeah, brother Black in Japan. I wanted to ask the references that you were mentioning. Didn't that still come from the Pilgrims?
No, it didn't. Like how, like the hollow, you know what I'm saying? The hollow, it didn't come from the pilgrims. You know what I'm saying? If you look back at it, if you look at it and you go to the Mayans and the Incas, right? If you look at Native American, that didn't come from the pilgrims, right? It's lost in translation. It came from the Native Americans that were coming from Central America, not the indigenous Americans, but the Native Americans that migrated up from Central America up to what we call North America today. You know what I mean? So they came from what? The Mayans and the Incans, right? You know, what we call Mexicans or so forth, right? So that whole Hallows thing, that whole Hallows celebration, if you actually go deep and go into Hallows Eve and you go look at that, and then, you know what I'm saying, or what the Mexicans say, the Day of the Dead, where they celebrate their dead or whatever they do, and you look at the processes in Kemet, ancient Egypt, and how they celebrated their dead, and who Horus, and you got all these stuff, and they put on these headdresses and things like that. This has been going on for eons. They're just changing the names around because of the dialect, the tongue. Just like how Christians say Jesus, you know what I'm saying? And in the Judeo faith, there's no J's in Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? Everything gets missed in translation. But like Information Man was saying is, you use these things to control people. What starts out pure can change things. Like a swastika means peace. But now when you see one, you think of white supremacy and Nazis.
Yeah,
and that's yeah, go ahead.
No, you're in the middle of a thought. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, brother.
Because I was going to talk about that swastika. You know, that's in the movie. I think it's the Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the guy that was taking the heads off. That was on his necklace, and this was based on a martial arts movie.
Yeah.
So for those people that think it's only for Hitler, no, that's way before him.
Yeah, is because where did they get it from, right? Because you know what I'm saying, and if it means peace in Hebrew, it also means peace in the kanji in the Chinese language.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that you got two different cultures that have the same symbolism, and it means exactly the same thing, right? And then if you reverse them, they mean totally opposite. So you got peace on one side and you got what on the other side? What's the opposite of peace? War, right? Mm-hmm. Just like if you take an American flag and you turn it upside downwards, that means you're in distress. You raise the flag upside downwards, that means you're in distress, right? There's certain symbols that have a reverse meaning to signify certain things. These things don't just happen, right? So,
I'm sorry, I'm always getting you.
No. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Because you know, if you know me by now, usually when we have a point in, I want to get right to that part right there.
But, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
But also, for what I studied too about that flag,
mm-hmm.
you know, the goddess Nut,
mm-hmm.
God Ra.
Yep.
It was supposed to be that, especially when you did the position you just talked about, because the Nut is the star and the sky, and the Ra is supposed to be the sun rays.
Exactly.
That's why they go ahead.
Just like if you look at most of the flags, right? Especially in Asian culture, that's been around for decades and dynasties, right? You look at Japan, right? It's you know, the old flag, the imperial flag. It had the sun rays on it, right? Red, white background, right? You look at Korea, they have the middle of it has a yin and yang symbol, right? So what it dictates is the people that we have are people of the sun and the moon, the yin and the yang, unified under one country. That's what it actually means. The original Korean people were darker. They were in power. You know what I'm saying? So we could go on and on with this and break this down with the symbolism. But let's, you know what I mean, how does it comes back to what we're talking about? When the brother said you're talking about the devil and this, and this, of course, because that's what Halloween stands for. You know what I mean? The darkness, the witchcraft, the pushing it out there. if you don't understand something and someone explains it to you this way and they prey on your fear of things, then you will close your mind to go even check them or even dig deeper. What we're doing right now is we're having a conversation about digging deeper. What is the difference between this and this? What is the origin of it? You know what I'm saying? And why did it change over the years? And then do we celebrate this? Well, are you celebrating it because it's just something to do? Or are you using it in a way of spirituality? Or are you touching that? You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. Just like I said, Christmas, like Easter. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know what Easter is. If you study Christianity or Judaism or whatever, right? We all know what Easter is, what it means, right? You know what I'm saying? But how have they twisted Easter, right? You know what I'm saying? When Caligula and them, they got Easter, they named it after goddess Easter, and the bunny is a symbol of futility. But what else did she do? You know what I'm saying? So the whole symbolism was twisted.
Well, Black in Japan, isn't the symbolism of Easter have to do with sex as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got
futility.
We got our children running around looking for Easter eggs when last time I checked, bunnies do not lay eggs.
Yeah, notice you bury the eggs in the ground too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Let me go ahead out of respect and get my main man on, my man Cap. This is a military veteran, and this is a brother who does excellent commentary on his platform about survival, how to survive in certain situations, how to use your weapons properly. The brother does a lot of talk in these areas. Brother Cap, give us some of your wisdom, brother. You heard some of my commentary tonight. You're hearing Black in Japan break some things down. Give us some of your thoughts. And you heard Brother Art break some things down tonight. Give us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I want to thank you, brother. I want to give a salute to you, the panel, the chat room, the brothers that have been speaking. I said, y'all shit is real heavy duty. And now I understand why I fucking don't mess with Halloween no more. So, I'm going to give you a story, family, before I started learning about the origination of all these pagan holidays, you know, Halloween, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that kind of shit. My experience was when I got out the military, fresh off the battlefield. And I went with my nieces and nephews to a little Halloween party that they held in our town. They had a little haunted house and all that kind of shit. And so I told them, go ahead, babies, go ahead and enjoy yourself. No, Uncle, come with us. I said, for what? You don't want Uncle coming in there, which I'm trying to tell you. So they kept, you know, they finally persuaded me to go in there with them. I go in there, and back then, you know, compared to the day, how they can design costumes and acting skills and all that kind of stuff to really portray a real horror situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in there, you know, I said, oh yeah, nice try, partner, nice try. But this one motherfucking cat came with me like, this motherfucker, is this shit for real? So I said, hey, partner, stay away from me, man, stay away. Don't come no closer. But he kept coming. So whack, right in his goddamn nose. Now it's holla bleeding right now. And I tried to tell you, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you in your nose, but bro, I warned you, stay away from me. And then I got banned from attending anymore. And then moving on, a few decades later, I got in contact with another fellow Marine buddy, and they had a Halloween party. And this is at a time when I was like, love is love, you know, when I was living in a blind lifestyle. And all this alcohol, motherfuckers passing out shit. These cats would pull like the cord from a table lamp, and they got that little live wire hanging out. Go to just shocking the shit out of them while they pass out drunk. I'm like, why are you doing that shit, bro? They don't make those.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. You a Marine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Navy, man. You were around white people, ain't you?
I used to be around everybody.
No, I'm saying
But
the one that was doing this shocking shit. It was around white people, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
bro. I'm like, what kind of shit is this? Because black folks, we get drunk, we just want to groove and talk some good smack and never good. Y'all here doing some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying?
White people weird, man.
Yeah. And so, I was like, man, why you trying to shout this dude like this at for? Man, he's drunk, he's passed out. But the dude, he took like lightheartedly. But the next year, I went to the damn party and I passed out before, and there's most of the Marines around. And I woke up, go to the bathroom, I look in the mirror, I got all kind of writings on my face. I walked out and said, whoever the fuck wrote my goddamn face. When I wake up, this shit better be fucking gone. Guess what's gonna happen? We're gonna have a little motherfucking imaginary square out there in back of the yard somewhere. We're gonna box his shit out because 101. Because this is not the type of Halloween party I'm used to. When I hang around my people, shit, it's like it's good feelings, We ain't trying to hurt nobody. We ain't trying to degrade as a joke or playfulness, like lighthearted shit. No, you don't do that shit. So when I woke up, that shit was wiped off, dog. Because I was so much alcohol stupor at that time.
I'm gonna say this to you, brother. I was in the military. I was in the Navy, right? When I walked into the berthing and I was looking for a place to have my rack, there was a brother that walked up to me. Nah, you don't go over there. You over here with us. You don't sleep with the white people. They do weird shit when niggas asleep.
Yeah,
that's why all the black people on one side of the berth. Yeah, they do weird shit when niggas asleep. You don't get drunk and pass out around white people. I'm gonna tell all of you black people that's in the chat that's gonna go up and you go to these parties, you don't get drunk and pass out around white people. Take your ass home.
That's Bill.
I'm telling you this.
Especially a man, because there's a chance if you hang around them at a Halloween party, you pass out, you might wake with your booty hole aching.
Yeah, hey, look, you ain't got it. The fuck Halloween, any party. Do not, I repeat, women, men, listen, I'm in the entertainment industry. Do not get drunk and pass out around white people.
Do not. You're exactly right.
Do not. I'm going to say it one more time. Do not. Matter of fact, go to a white party. Don't even drink. Watch them get drunk and watch what they do to each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've seen a lot,
Yeah. I'm like, y'all some sick motherfuckers. What make you do that kind of shit?
I mean, people are too excited about being invited to any party that they never been to, and they feel they can indulge and eat all kinds of stuff. They don't know where it came from. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, I'm maybe I'm too cautious, but come on, there's too many stories behind that.
Look. I'm gonna say. Oh, go.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Cap. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it, Cap. What you said is relevant to this point. When you look at the history of the world, and like I said, some of these weird rituals that Europeans and people in general have indulged in, where do you think the kind of weird behavior that you see in modern times come from? This stuff trickled down out of these traditions and weird customs that people engage in. So when you see people engaging in weird behaviors, you have to always ask yourself, where does it come from? Nobody is born into the world programmed to just act like this. It's learned behavior by watching.
I think it's just natural within them to live that way.
I understand that, but for the purpose of the program tonight, when you look at the traditions and the things that are handed down, it's clear to me that these traditional things that have gone on in our society, it permeates in the minds and hearts, souls of people and the way they engage in their behavior. So if you say, well, this is innate with these folks here, then you have to look at the traditions and the rituals that they have engaged in all these centuries. And in the case tonight, as we're examining Halloween. You get where I'm coming from, Cap?
Yeah.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Just say you don't, Cap. I can hear it in your hesitation. All right, Cap. No, but I'm not disagreeing with you, Cap. I'm not disagreeing with you. But I'm just saying, for the purpose of the show tonight, talking about Halloween and why we shouldn't celebrate it, when people have those inherent type of behaviors, you gotta also look at the things that they celebrate and what those celebrations come out of in its demonic fashion.
You got to kind of look at how it is today. Ever since slavery days, these people that love, particularly not our people, but I'm talking about them, the dominant society. They enjoy seeing death. They love seeing pain. You feel what I'm trying to say?
Yep. They desensitized to everything. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's like they come out there. It's like they come out their damn womb already desensitized.
Let me put this on the table, because I was listening to my brother Pharaoh says this one night, and he was saying that Europeans, if you look at their culture, their history, and you brothers know this being military, their history has always been a history of killing and pillaging of themselves. And once they got sick and tired of pillaging and warring with each other in their different tribes, and they decided at one point in time, let's not be tribal, let's be one, because you know that all of this is what? They're Germans. They're part of Germanic tribes. They're German. I don't care if you're in France. You can call yourself French. You can call yourself English, British. But when you look at their origins, going back to Germanic tribes, German, they were warring with each other. And once they got sick of warring with each other, they turned their warring attitude and ideology on the rest of the world, particularly on us, in terms of oppression. So when you say, well, they're doing these things, well, you got to look at their history. The history, they've had years and years to refine their fuckery or their war machine. Okay. If you look at, let's look at South Africa, right? You've all heard the stories of Shaka Zulu. And when Shaka Zulu was born into the world at that time, he changed the way that they engaged in war strategy in that part of the region of Africa, right? Until then, if you believe the history or the things that have been told, they didn't actually have battles where it was this physical, let me take this sword and stick it in your body. Their battles were very similar to the things that I did as a kid when I was breakdancing, right? So I would breakdance and show, get into these ritualistic dances to have a battle. And Shaka Zulu said, why are we using these long spears? Let's break these long spears into shorter spears where I can run faster and implode this into someone's body. Or why are we wearing sandals when we should run with our feet bare because it'll make us quicker? I'm just using this as sort of the evolution of battle as it relates to Africa, particularly the region of South Africa, as it relates to Shaka Zulu. If you believe any of the folklore or the pageantry of Shaka Zulu, and then when you look at Europeans where they battle, they pillage and kill. And then there was a book, what's the book, Black in Japan? It's called Germs, Steel. And, say that book.
Fire, Germs,
Steel and Fire. And they talk about where the reason why Europeans or certain groups of people were able to, how can I say, revolutionize their fighting skills. You have to look at what was abundant in their land, right? So Europeans had an abundance of what, Black in Japan?
Yeah, they had
of steel. No, you got to realize what creates the gun, the bullet, right? The steel, the resources that are in your earth can bring about what you have to use in your war factory. You brothers being military can probably speak about this better than I can. I know my subject tonight was Halloween, but I bring this up because it all has some relevancy Go right ahead.
And you're actually, I'm like, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? Because there's, if you look at it like this right here, right? Things can be turned and moved, right? White people, if you say white people are naturally warlike creatures, right? Well, the thing is civilization starts in different stages, right? And Captain over here, he can talk about how we conduct warfare, right? We don't just roll into a country or do anything, right? He's a Marine, right? I was in the Navy, right? So I don't know how he got on land, but Cap, was you on a ship when y'all went in? Like,
no, bro.
You
no,
got
we just flew in. Oh yeah,
okay.
I was never on ship, brother.
Okay, all right, you just flew in. So my first ship in the Navy is I was on an amphibious ship, right? So what we would do before we would drop the Marines off, because they would put them in the back of AVs, they would send them off the back of a ship, and they would drop down like about 20, 30 feet in the water, pop back up, roll on land, and cause havoc. You know what I'm saying? Now, he came in off of the he would come in and they would fly him straight in. He would come in, they would fly his platoons and stuff straight in. But before we did any of that shit, before we even smashed on the country,
yeah, bombarded
right? Bombarded it, right? You know what I mean? Before they bombarded, they don't even send planes. The Navy shoot missiles and shit. Before they even do that, the first thing that they use in warfare is called diplomacy. They have what they call ambassadors and an embassy in these countries, right?
Yeah.
And then they have civilians that walk around first, right? And then the civilians that walk around are CIA or agents, right? And what they do is they find the instability in the country. And if the country doesn't want to acquiesce, right?
Exactly.
Because this is to their demands on the table, they first put embargoes on them, right? Then that makes the country, they destabilize the country. Then these CIA agents, right? What they'll do is they'll go in and find the faction that doesn't like their problem, right? Doesn't like their station in life. And then they'll train them with guerrilla warfare, right? And then they'll bring in the SEALs and the special forces dudes. And then they'll go in and do the dirty work that these guerrilla fighters are not trained to do. Because once the country is worrying about the terrorists over here, then these special forces dude will come in, they'll sneak and kill this dude. They'll promise something to this dude. They'll do all this backdoor shit. Now, if the country is still there and they're still standing after that, then what they'll do is they'll show it on the news and the media and let it leak out, right? Because if you got to think about it, how is these motherfucking rebels sitting up in a country that's war-torn with satellite uplinks? Who is giving it to these motherfuckers? Like, how
there
are they
you go.
How are they getting it?
Yeah, exactly, brother. That's how they do it. Just back in the days when they conquered Africa, first they're sending in God dog, I'm thinking of names.
No, the Far East. Hold on, it's the Far East Trading Company. The Far East Trading Company. You know what I'm saying? They'll send in the merchants. The merchants are the instruments of war. You cannot fight a war without money. You cannot fight. I will say this again. You cannot fight a war without money. Diplomacy is the first strategy in warfare. You have to get intel, right?
Oh yeah.
And for us black people, every time we see some shit and we get spooked because of whatever spiritual practices or religious doctrine we have, we shut off our senses to go and get the information on why certain things are the way they are. If you understand what you're dealing with, then you can combat it instead of rolling off of fear. So your first thing is information. Then when you get that information, how do you fight it? If you don't want Halloween to be demonic and fucked up, then what you do is you find the source of it, and then you tell your people, see, what they doing is wrong. You can't tell people forever, yo, what they're doing is wrong. Don't do that shit. Well, why are they doing it? Don't do it. Don't do it. The more you tell someone that's younger than you not to do something, I got children. I don't know about art. I know about information, man. I'm not sure about Cap here. But the more you tell somebody not to do something, the more they're going to do it. So if you explain repetition, you got to give them an alternative. You can't keep people from doing shit, right? So you have to give people an alternative. If you tell people Easter is about the Savior and all of that, over time, and you keep going heavy-handed with your tactics and all this other stuff, what are people going to do? They're going to find a different way to celebrate. And when that first alternative pops up, guess what they're going to do? They're going to run to it. They're going to acquiesce to it. Then you got a faction. Then you get a different faction. The only thing you got to do now is train them and arm them. And then once you have a war and it destabilizes both sides, then you could come over and take over, and then you can set your own doctrine into place. And that's basically what happens.
That's how they conquer Africa, man. First,
that's how they conquer everything.
These missionaries trying to train, and then if they feel resistance, the next thing, the last resort is bringing the military. They force it.
Right, that's true, Cap. You brothers would know better. Art, you was trying to make a point, brother. Go right ahead.
Yeah, the part that I would like to add in was the spiritual. I mean, the thing that if you could really follow all of the different strategies that I guess Western war tactics was used, they were always using the missionaries in the very beginning. Because
hold on, Art. They like, okay, we gotta stop. We gotta stop doing this. They're not Western war tactics. They're our war tactics.
Well, let me go ahead and try to complete it to where
it's how I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but we give what we will call the oppressor too much credit. Remember, the English or the white people could not build over how many meters until they did the first crusade. All these war tactics and all of this stuff that you're seeing came from the originators. They learned from us because they were under our rulership first.
Right. So
they were at the bottom of the totem. So they just flipped it on.
Well,
us.
let me
talk, brother. Let him talk though.
Let me just make this point. I'm keeping with what the brother is saying, Brother Cap. Earlier tonight, if you heard me, I talked about how the Moors from North Africa controlled much of Europe into Ireland. And we learned in school how Europe was in a dark age. And I said, how do you think they came out of that dark age into a renaissance where they were getting into art and music, and then they learned how to navigate the world? Because the Africans knew that the world was not flat. I know there's flat earthers out there, but they knew, the Europeans thought the world was flat and that they would fall off. So keeping with Brother Black in Japan's point, he's absolutely right, because there's history that shows where African had a presence in the world. And when they drove the Moors out of Europe during the Christian Crusades, there was all this technology that was left, which the Europeans were able to use to empower themselves. They did not create it originally. That's all I'm trying to say. It keeps with what the brother is talking about. It keeps with what he's talking about. It stays on topic. Okay.
Yeah. No. It's like, and that's what I try to see. The problem with us right now is, okay.
Hey, brother.
We keep forgetting. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say, let the other brother talk. I know he's been patient and everything. I want to hear his point.
Oh, that's what you were saying, Cap. Okay, I get what you're saying. Brother Art, make your point, brother.
Yeah, what I was trying to say, even regardless of who they were influenced by, this is pretty much their staple on how they really weaken what do you call it, a society or whatever, where you got to send your missionaries to get as many people as possible to follow a doctrine or a belief, especially in spirituality. And I kind of see that with Halloween, to where, I mean, anything ritualistic that you can convince a population to do, you don't have to get the whole population, but if you can just deplete some of them to where they don't have as much to fight back, then that's where you got them. And they've been doing this over and over and over and over. And it's just weird how a lot of people just don't see it. You know, that's what I would say.
If you don't mind me, just like 10 seconds. The thing is, I think a lot of our people don't read that book, Art of War. Yeah. I'm done.
He's right. You need to read. I have a copy of that book here at home, and I think
I got the audio book too.
Oh, okay. Let me make this point. I'm glad you said that, Cap. I think that as a people, we need to we need to read as much literature as possible. I've got the Art of War. I've got the William Cooper book, Behold the Pale Horse. By the way, when you purchase that book, you do go on a list. They do want to know who's got that book. That book is very interesting. Man who wrote it, he doesn't live anymore because he was warned not to write that book. He gave up a lot of government secrets. And then there's a guy named John Perkins who talks about America being an empire and how they use foreign aid to manipulate other countries. You have these economic hitmen who come in working for the the World's Bank, and they use the banking system to hide behind various things that America is doing behind the scenes. He says that what they'll do before they send in the CIA or the military, they try to see if they can manipulate a country that they can world by manipulating their resources and tricking these dictators into taking this so-called foreign aid. So these kind of books that we should always read, science books, we should always get into this kind of stuff besides just talking about the latest reality show. What are your thoughts, brothers?
Like that book is very powerful. You know what I mean? But what I usually try to explain to people is you have to change your mindset. You have to put your belief system to the side for 5 seconds when you're divulging information, right? Because you have to think in a pragmatic way, because it works. Whether you agree with the tactics or not, it works, right? So now if it works, you got to understand how it works, and then you got to come up with a counter system. You know what I'm saying?
I think the counter system is Well, I think one of the effective counter systems is decoding. It's when you're able to, connect the dots. And I think that's where, I know it's dangerous because sometimes when you're close to the truth, they got to get rid of you somehow. But if you're able to at least get to a situation to where you're able to connect the dots to where, you put it this way, you know how a lot of them do the whole sleight of the hand, the whole behind the scenes, the put, what do you call it, the doing the things behind the curtains or whatever. But you can do that for yourself as well, to where and I think people are doing that now. That's why we don't know about them. I'm quite sure there's lots of people that's decoding and finding out different things, but they still underground because you're not going to publicize everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you said that and spoke about that, because everybody, like, how should I say it like this? The average person, like, let's just say for Black people, right? Right. Not everybody is mentally and spiritually equipped to know the inner secrets of everything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? People want to really be sheep. 70 to 80% of people want to be sheep. They want to be led by someone, because a lot of people are lazy with that, because they just want to live a comfortable life, and they will acquiesce or follow whoever can lead them in that direction. It's very few. You know, say many are called, few are chosen.
Right.
It's true.
Yes,
Yeah, because brother Black in Japan, and I'm quite sure yourself, I mean, the whole panel here, I've found out so many different, over the years, of course, I found out so many different things in the Bible that does not mean the same exact stuff the same exact stuff you learn in church. And the stuff that we know, I don't think the average person be able to stomach it. I don't think they'd be able to, they can take it. So yeah, many are called, but few are chosen.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can take it, man.
You know, like Cap can probably tell you. He's probably gonna speak. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you guys say first, brother.
It's like he was in the Marines, right? There's certain things he can't never speak on that he probably had to do to get himself out of harm's way because it had to be done. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's a different, you know what I mean? That's something different. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? He probably had you know what I mean, a commander or the generals that are probably sent them in knowing that it was a trap where they had to protect the group of the other troops to move in a strategic location.
It's pretty like it is a suicide mission.
Exactly. Then if you made it out alive, you'll get a medal. You know what I'm saying? and maybe some time off. You know what I'm saying? But it's a chessboard. You know what I mean? It's a chessboard. Now, here's the thing. Everybody say they want to be king, but are you willing to do what it takes to be king?
Once again, booyah.
Man, that's what I mean, it's funny how you guys bring this stuff up because I have sessions like that, you know, because I teach every day. And it's funny, you know how people say that you know, we're gods and you know, you're just as big as you're just as much as Jesus, anyone else. And I'm like, it's like telling someone, like, for example, you would tap somebody on the shoulder and say, right now you are the president of the United States. Can you imagine somebody like, huh? Me? What am I supposed to do? Blah, 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 you know? And I'm sitting there like, a lot of people I think they're afraid to get that responsibility, you know, because they're not even willing to put in the work. And also the ignorance will not even allow them to even know that you're Jesus just or God or anyone else, just like anyone, you know, because yeah, you would have that God title by looking in the mirror, but you have to live up to that potential. You have responsibilities to have that title. So you are representing that. But when you tell someone on average about that, they're like, oh man, I can't do that. I can't do that. You know, it's like they're afraid to take that leap to greatness. And it's so many different you know, there's so many different scenarios. But I I kind of laugh because it's like we're going through that, but the powers that be and whoever, they don't go through that, man. They pretty much just convince themselves who they are or who they think they are, and then just, you know, just go down to town with it and get and have their way. And they're using our stuff to do it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm I'm gonna say like this, right? You know, as a self-employed person, as a business owner, right? My business doesn't have a whole bunch of employees and all that other stuff because of the type of business that I'm in and the way that everything is nowadays. You don't need that. That's actually a detriment unless you're providing some type of service. You know what I mean? Like you're merchandising or something like that. You're providing a product. And when you get so big, you know what I mean? You shift gears and have someone else manufacture it for you, right? So business, I had to take my morality off the table. I had to make a lot of moves because it was the right thing to do to grow my business. I used to walk around and be moral, like, nah, that deal isn't good because we gotta both equal and we gotta make some money, or I'm going to acquiesce to something. I had my mentors sit there and tell me, you know what your problem is? This is what? You're too goddamn honest. The business world is about going to war. You know what I'm saying? Your only allegiance is to you and only you, and nobody but you. And to your family that you're taking care of. He said, are you trying to be an employee with the fakeness of being a businessman, or you're trying to build a brand and an empire to pass down to your children and your grandchildren and so forth.
That's right.
Then you got to take morality. And you know what he did? He sat me down and he said, this is your Bible. 48 laws of power. And then every time we go to a business meeting, I'm going to take you with me and I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to quiz you. Which law did I violate? Which law did I have in there? You read that and you tell me which one it is. And then you look in that book and say certain things that you won't do and you use it according to you. Once I read that book and I didn't just read it, I use it as a manual. I started doing things in certain ways. Then I started looking up the art of the deal, the art of seduction, logistic programming. I start looking up all these things, right? And guess what? They use this in the business world. This is really what they teach you. Once you get out of business school and you do all that stuff, you got to join these certain type of fraternities. And this is what they teach you in those fraternities. This is what we're up against as a people.
And you know,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I hate cutting you in the thought because I know you're going to say something profound.
No, brother, go ahead.
Remember, I think it's the 16 Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
I noticed, I think Daniel and Think and Grow Rich, he was always talking about going away and have some kind of spiritual retreat. To the I think he said the woods, go camping or something like that. And I'm quite sure he's not going to put in all the details, but I think half of those things have a lot to do with invocations and rituals as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think mainly these are the things that, I don't know. I think, what's his name? Dr. Oh my God. The brother talks about African Center Education.
You talking about Umar?
No, he passed away in the 90s.
Oh, I know you're talking. I know
you're talking. Glasses. Man, I got all his stuff. I can't. Dr. Amos. Dr. Amos Wilson.
I think that's his name. I think Wilson is his name. I remember.
You might be talking about Dr. John Duncan Clark, not Duncan Clark, but John Clark.
Is this Dr. Well, I was trying to quote Dr. Amos Wilson. I think that's his last name. I don't know why it's hard to remember right now, but he was saying that we are a people that constantly tries to fight our oppressor with his own spiritual system. He's doing that.
Brothers, what I want to do at this moment, because I'm gonna have to end the stream and I got to get some sleep for work tomorrow. But
yes, sir.
What I want to do is get you brothers back on, so that we can have a part. What I want to do is have a part 2 of this, or maybe a part 1, where I can definitely make the focal point of the live stream based on Black philosophy, Black ideology, Black thought and history, something of that nature, where we can continue this type of discussion and we can talk about the books that we're reading. You know, Black men do read books, people.
Yeah,
we do.
The philosophies that we have, we can talk about more than just hip hop music and some damn football too, you know? So I want to get back into this, and what I want to do, I want to do this upcoming week. I know I'm supposed to be on the Brother Prophet show tomorrow, or I would do it tomorrow, but I want to get the brothers back so that we can continue this discussion and make it focus on this type of discussion, because I like where it's going. I hate to end it, but bid time is calling, and I could go on and on, and if I go on and on and on, I'll be a wreck tomorrow. I can let you brothers go on and on and on and on, but we're going to get back into this. What can I say? Let me just go ahead and let all three of you say your last words. And folks, we are going to get back into this kind of conversation, because this is the sort of conversation that we as Black men need to continue endeavoring and integrating our minds into. So let me see who would like to go.
I'll go first.
All right, brother, go right ahead.
Real simple. I want to connect with these two brothers that the brother from Japan,
Yeah,
and the brother I can't read the James Brown symbol.
brother Art. This is what I'm gonna do. Because I have all your information, brother Cap. I'll get these brothers connected with you. But when we have another discussion, I'm going to be bringing you back on specifically with these brothers. So that means you got to be on the lookout for the link that I'll be sending you. So what I want to do, let's see, probably going into this weekend, I want to get you guys on. And I want to get Brother Gab on too, because he has that sort of philosophy type of thinking as well, and thought process. So I'm going to get you brothers back on. So Cap, I'll be getting you back on in this discussion. Is that cool?
No worries. All right.
And then I will connect, and I'll also connect you with these brothers too as well. So we'll do that. If Cap, if you don't have any other words to say, I want to go over to Brother Art. Let him say his last words.
Well, I got what,
Go right ahead, Cap. Go right ahead, Cap.
My family, we're at war right now. What I'm trying to do is prepare us for war. I try to do the research, but I need support. I need you don't have to come to my damn channel to give me a thumbs up. You don't have to donate unless you want to. But we got to prepare for this shit. I'm done.
Okay. And like I said, Cap, being a military veteran that he is, on his show, occasionally he will talk about survival, how you survive if you were out in the certain types of terrain. If you are a person that's want to learn how to use your gun properly, how you deal with circumstances as it relates to survival, someone entering your home, intruder. He talks about these issues. He gives you a blow-by-blow illustration with his experience. So definitely check out my man Cap PY2. Cap PY2. Cap PY2. Check this out.
You been meaning to do a live one-on-one live stream, brother. Aren't you waiting?
Well, that's what I want to get you. Okay, just what we're gonna schedule. I'm gonna schedule you right after this week. We're gonna do a one-to-one so you can really break it down to everybody. We're gonna do that. And what I really want to do when we do that, Cap, is I want to call out for brothers only who have military experience so that we can have a Q&A near the end of your interview, and we can bring on brothers like Black in Japan and any other brothers that he may know or they're out there that have military experience only. If you don't have military experience, you need not apply to this stream, because I want military brothers talking, and I'm just going to moderate. Okay, Cap, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to go over to Brother Art.
I'm good.
All right, brother. Cap PY2. Cap PY2. Okay. Art, speak your piece, brother.
Yeah, first, Cap, you need some more clips with your guitar stuff. You need more. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna subscribe to you, brother. Yeah, we gotta check you out, brother. See what's going on. Yeah, but I play guitar too, so I play music. You just don't see it in my channel.
Well, you can school me, brother. You can school me. I'm open-minded. I
played Giant Steps by Coltrane. That was hard as hell. But I really want to, dibble and dabble in how spiritual practices affect us and how we're supposed to put our spiritual systems back in place so we can get out of this madness, because we got the physical stuff going on. We can call things out, but at the same time, we're not really getting to the other part that affects us, within. So I definitely want to touch on some of those things later.
Very good. Very good.
It was good to really, share, and, especially with brothers, it's good to share that.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Black, and I say, hear ye, Hear ye, Black in Japan.
Man,
Brother, give us
Hey,
the last words. Since you've been giving us dimes tonight, you've been dropping the knowledge on us. Go right ahead.
like, you know, once again, thank you, Information Man, for having me on the panel. Art, once again, it's been, man, we gotta, I gotta set you up on the other on my channel, man, where we can get up there and we just do a one-on-one thing and
You
just,
tired,
you know, yeah, we, you know what I'm saying. Cap, you too, brother. That idea, Information Man, that's a great idea. Because I'll be on YouTube and I'll be watching all these survival channels, and there's no brothers out there doing it. How to, you know, how to start a fire, just live off the land. You know, just go out there and make you a bushcraft a shelter and just camp. You know what I'm saying? I see nothing but white people doing this. You know what I'm saying? Fishing, hunting, and just out there for a week living off the land with nothing but a backpack and a knife and an axe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I watch it purposely because I need to be prepared because they telling me something. Shit about to go down. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? All these, you know what I mean? All these solar panels being sold, these Connex box houses, they call it minimalist. No, it's called we preparing for some fuck shit to happen. You know what I'm saying? So, but that too, Information Man. If we're gonna do this, let me know. You know what I mean, to get on board. I got a couple of interviews this weekend myself with people, so I want to make sure I make that stream. But my last words is keep it brief. We have to stop sitting around like the theologians and talking about theory and philosophizing about a lot of stuff and not putting in the work. We got to stop being so-called spiritual, but not using it in a physical form. We as Black people have to go back to our original calling. We are naturally spiritual. We got to stop being scared of our connectivity to the ether, but we also got to realize that what made us great is that we as a people are alchemists. We can use spirituality in the physical form and transmutate that to riches and to power. And if you see them all the time, they can do the physical part, but they always doing these rituals and stuff because they lack that other part of them, that connection to the ether, to that spirituality. We got it naturally, so they scare us in not touching that. They scare us into it. Everything comes natural to us. If you're scared of your gifts and your talents, you won't use them, and then they can subvert you. That's all I gotta say.
Well,
real quick,
Man, just 3 seconds. The brother just spoke from Japan. Hey, brother, I tried looking for a comment in the comment section so I can link to you, but I haven't seen
Hold on, I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
everybody in the chat room,
Roger that.
put your information in there and subscribe to each other's channels. If you're new to this channel tonight, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you subscribe to Black in Japan and Art. I think both of you or all of you are moderated, so put your channel information in there. Put it in there so folks can check you out. Support one another.
yeah, just to piggyback quickly on what one of brother Black in Japan's points. That solar panel is key because you know damn well there's some blackouts that's going to hit the fan, and a lot of people are going to be sitting ducks with no power. So that's what they're anticipating on. So I think most of us really need to get some solar panels in our homes.
That's why I'm working on that stuff, brother.
Okay. Well, let me say this for conclusion. Cap, we're going to do this show. We'll get that show going. And for everybody that's on the panel, thank you for being here. Black in Japan, thank you for being here. We're going to do that show with you and everybody that's on here tonight. We're going to get this thing going again. Art, we're going to get you back on too, brother. Thank you for being here. You've been very supportive of me. I really appreciate that. We me and Art, we talk behind the scenes sometimes about some of the fuckery on YouTube at times.
Good Lord.
You see,
Good Lord.
but you know, it is what it is. But I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for supporting the program. I'm going to lay my butt down, get a little bit of rest, and we'll be back. So with that said, let me share my screen and put up my avatar of the, you know what I'm going to put up, folks. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Good night, everybody.
Well, good night, fam.
This was the Halloween special, but we also talked about other real life issues with the brothers coming on the panel. Black in Japan. Brother Art came on and talked to us. He's a musician, professor. And we had Cat PY2 who came on to this Halloween special tonight. Thank you for being here and listening. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. Woo.
Nothing to be afraid of. Have you ever questioned the nature?
Thank you, everybody. Sunny Seas, Brother Duvian, Cap, everybody in the chat room, Brother Food, Clothing and Shelter, Music and Shelter came out tonight. O'Shea came in the chat room for a moment. Real Aaron Collins. My Copper Tone who came in, Sister Copper Tone. All of you in the chat room who supported me tonight that I may not have said your name, I thank you for being here. Thank you. Woo.
Next time you Dr. Bombay for Bewitched, that's a good laugh.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think of you. What do you think of the guests? Do you know where you are? The things I told you change the way you think about people. Do you know where you are?
Ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm not going to end the show until I give you my final statement. You know what it is. So prepare yourself and wake your butt up.
Let this be a lesson that black folks need to be codified. We've got to stop cooking, love dancing, bootlicking, or cornbread.
Good night and thank you for your support.